Hello and welcome again to another installment of the video blog series with the INMM Communicator. My name is Logan Scott. I'm the Vice Chair of Communications for the INMM Communications Committee. And I am honored today to get to sit and have a conversation with one of our new fellows of the Institute, Dr. Mona Dreicer. Mona, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, thank you.
Absolutely. We're excited to get to talk to you today about your career, about some other things that, we'll get to have some fun questions, a little bit back and forth, and get our Institute members a little bit of an insight to who you are as, one of the newly minted fellows of the Institute. So first of all, congratulations on being named a fellow of the Institute. It's a big honor.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. It was a nice surprise, actually. I didn't know it was in the works, and so it was very touching and an honor to know that my colleagues would nominate me for this.
Well, it's you've certainly had a long and storied career. But for our members that are watching this video, this interview, can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I have jumped around quite a bit over the course of the 40 years. I've worked at 3 different US national laboratories: Los Alamos National Lab, the Environmental Measurements Lab in New York when it was a DOE lab, and Lawrence Livermore National Lab actually twice. I worked at the IAEA in Vienna, a French nonprofit research group outside of Paris. And then ultimately worked for or supported different US executive branch agencies: the Arms Control Disarmament Agency, which transitioned into the State Department. And then, of course, as many of us in INMM in the US are involved in programs for the Department of Energy and NSA. I didn't really plan out the career. It sort of happened. It wasn't a straight line by any means. But I think it was pretty much influenced by my desire to learn new things over time. I hate being bored. So I work hard at whatever job I'm doing, and with a certain amount of luck, have had great opportunities to always have very interesting and challenging jobs.
No, and it's I've said this before, but it's been a storied career. Having worked for 3 national laboratories, the State Department, worked abroad for a few years. It's definitely something that as you've achieved a lot throughout your career, and I really want to congratulate you because as you recently retired from such posts, hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of the retirement world.
I am, but it's hard to leave it all behind. There's so many interesting things happening, and so, for example, being able to participate in the annual combined meetings of INMM and ASARDA was a great way to catch up and stay in touch with all of the very important and interesting work going on today.
Absolutely, and it was a great joint meeting. We got to have a lot of outreach to people that doing it in a virtual setting in a joint capacity with ASARDA. We get to have a lot of outreach that we wouldn't normally have. Because this is an INMM interview, I do kind of want to talk a little bit about your INMM involvement. As a newly minted fellow, it's of a great community of professionals that are all trying to strive together to work towards a common goal. What impact did the Institute have on your career? We talked a little bit about the longevity that you've had, but what impact specifically did the Institute have, and being a member and in your involvement with the Institute?
I think a tremendous amount. Had a really important and positive impact. Through the different activities I've done over the years, I was involved in different professional societies at different levels of engagement. And in this last phase, when I did more than nonproliferation and arms control verification, I became aware of INMM and actively got involved. It's a very welcoming group of people, I find. And so other societies weren't necessarily as easy to get involved and integrated into, other than just attending their annual meetings. I think INMM gave me a great opportunity to stay up to date and involved, but established for me a network of people, both friends and colleagues and other professional experts, that I never would have been able to achieve otherwise. And so if I look back on feeling like I've been doing a good thing for the profession, but also created this great group of friends and a network of professionals. I think it really helped my career, and I apologize for this phone call. Okay.
It's one of those things in the virtual world. It just happens. It's one thing that we've all gotten used to. Talking to each other across long distances and video calls. So.
And actually, we talked about dogs barking in the background. So it's telephone calls, dogs barking, and not so often doorbells ringing.
Absolutely. It's kind of allowed the distance, or the pandemic has allowed kind of people to become closer over long distances. And when hosting the INMM ISARTA meeting, like I said, we were able to outreach to a bunch of people and kind of extend the welcoming nature of INMM and ISARTA to people that may not have been able to have experiences like that in the past. And you had such a large involvement and played such a large role in the Institute over the years. But I'm always curious with some of our fellow members, is there a specific moment or story that sticks out to you about your through your involvement with INMM? Was there a time in an annual meeting that it's just kind of that snapshot of like, this shows off the familial nature of the Institute?
I don't know if I have a particular story or anecdote. I mean, for me, a major turning point was being asked if I was willing to run for the being a member of the executive board. First of all, I was flattered that someone would think I could contribute, which made me feel good. But also getting involved and becoming a member of the executive board really showed me what hard work went into organizing the activities of the Institute. And we all do it on a volunteer basis. And I liked very much getting involved. Again, it helped me get to know individual people. And so I've met people I consider my friends as a result of regularly going to those board meetings. And so I think that was really a turning point for me in terms of getting involved. And so I actually encourage others to think of ways, whether it's working on committees the way you are, or something like that. Getting involved in the nuts and bolts really gives you even a greater appreciation, I think, of what the INMM has to offer.
I agree. Being named a fellow is kind of, you've got to fill two buckets, and it's the INMM involvement, and you definitely have to have like I said, a storied career. So I want to kind of ask you a couple questions about your career, broad-based sorts of things. How did the mission that we're asked to do, the non-proliferation, radiation protection safeguards mission, how did that change over the course of your career?
I think unfortunately it hasn't changed that much because there's so much to do. I mean, the technical challenges change and the technical solutions change. For example, now we're talking about how we can use supercomputers and artificial intelligence. So the focus, I think, has maybe moved a little bit away from developing of individual technologies that can be used, though that's still important. It's becoming more about using information, accessing information, sharing information. But I think the field still has the same challenges. We're still trying to stop the proliferation of and movement of materials, expertise, and technology. I think we need new and different ways to think about it and solve it. But I don't know. I think in a way it's a little unfortunate that I'm not sure it has changed all that much in terms of what the goals and objectives and what we're trying to do.
I think that's built into the mission as a whole, right? The whole goal is to make sure that we stop the proliferation of nuclear materials, that we know where they are, that we can ensure that people that handle these materials do so in a safe manner. If that mission ever changes, I think that there's a problem. It's my honest opinion.
I thought of one thing that's a real difference from when I started. When I started, one of the really big focuses of the U.S. programs as well as INMM was on the US-Russia cooperation on material protection control, MPC and accounting, MPC&A and the Global Threat Reduction Initiative. And it was largely on these programs in terms of material security and physical security and material take back. Very much a focus on the different types of agreements to convert research reactors and to account for HEU in Russia and the US as the HEU agreement. And a lot of those things we've moved past them, either because we've accomplished as much as we could, or because the political situation in the world has changed. You know, some of them I think we can declare successes. Some of them we're just not able to continue to work on today. And so I think that's an actual significant focus difference than when I started, you know, 16 or 17 years ago.
I can't agree with you more on that. You know, I did kind of mention this earlier, but you are recently retired from your role at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories. As you kind of move into this newly retired role, whether you decide to go in more of a consulting route, whether you just you know, decide to be a voice in the industry as a whole, what do you hope to accomplish with this new capacity as a you know, without being attached to an institution?
I'm hoping to stay involved somewhat where I can make a contribution. You know, I could consult a little. I'm not sure that I'm out to have a full-time second career as a consultant. I'm very much enjoying being a member of a committee for the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, looking at detection and verification in support of nonproliferation and arms control. It keeps me stimulated. I think I can make a contribution, and it's a very important topic. I'm interested in pursuing a number of different things, staying involved in INMM. I hope as a fellow I can make a contribution. I'm trying to learn how to weave, and so I'm weaving, making things and trying to be creative, use a different part of my brain than being creative at work. So it's still kind of evolving. It's a little hard in these times of COVID to actually figure out what you can do that gets you out more, engaging with people. Every time I fly someplace, it feels like an ordeal. And so most consulting or most work would involve that. So I'm hoping, you know, over the course of the next year, I can see more where I'm going to be involved professionally and how I can make a contribution.
I love that. You know, and I know that we, the community as a whole, when we lose giants like yourself, I say lose giants like yourself, but to retirements, people don't stay away from long. You know, so kind of, I want to transition a little bit and ask you a couple questions about looking forward. Like you said, as a fellow, you've had a long and storied career. You know, very much a successful path for young people like myself to follow. Is there one little small nugget of advice or like a personal axiom that you had that kind of got you through the day-to-day work that is involved with this sort of field?
Yeah, I think there were kind of two things. One, for me, it was really important to do something that I could see how it was going to be used. Personally, if I think basic R&D and science is fabulous and we need it, but I had a hard time staying engaged if I didn't know how what I was working on was going to fit and solve a problem that I could see. So personally, that's what I looked for in opportunities of where I could work. The sort of advice or things that I think I followed was always looking to what the opportunities were in the future. Even if I loved what I was doing and very, very engaged and remained working really hard, by keeping my eyes open to what other people were doing, maybe outside the realm of my day-to-day job, and understanding what kind of opportunities were out there allowed me to be able to move when I hit the point that I was ready to do something else. I kind of knew where to reach out and where to see what was going on and look for the next opportunity. So I felt and I feel like now that always looking for opportunities, even if you're not going to undertake them right that moment. And sometimes that actually gives you the information you need to make connections to help you do what you're doing. You know somebody has done something else similar, but in a different field. Well, how did they do it? How did it succeed? Can I apply it to what I'm doing? And so I think just keeping your eyes open, and making those connections. And I guess that includes also networking. To me, seems like a really important thing to do, if you're able to and you have the time.
Mhm. So frequently with a rapidly shrinking world, with the advanced uses of computers and communication, being done virtually like we're doing now, those connections become so invaluable, and being able to kind of connect the dots and see how the path in the future can be outlaid in a new way it hasn't been done before, is such an invaluable skill. So I really appreciate kind of you enumerating a little bit on that. So before we wrap up, before we kind of conclude this interview, it's been a great discussion, but this is an interview for the members of the Institute. As a newly minted fellow, is there anything that you want to say directly to all of the members of the Institute that get to watch this interview?
Well, I'm not sure I have that big a message that I can say, other than I think INMM is an international organization. I think the connection across the world, our greater cooperation with ASARDA is all a really good way to look beyond our small, our cities, our towns, our laboratories, our country. It's good both for getting better perspectives, for understanding different problems and how you might approach it. It's great for if we're trying to build capacity, both in general around the world and also for next generation. And so I think the INMM fills a very unique and valuable role. And making use of that and looking out on how to make the society a success, I think is really important. And I'm not sure if I really answered your question, but it's what came to mind.
It's it's a great perspective, and I can't agree with you more. But Mona, I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and I know our members will take a lot of value in the small axioms, the nuggets that you gave us throughout this entire interview. But I can't thank you enough for your time today. And if as I transition, if there's ever anything that you have to say, again, we're more than glad to do another talk like this.
Well, Logan, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was fun, and I will. And good work, I think, integrating this into the communications for the Institute. And I think I'm glad you're having fun doing it, and best of luck.
Absolutely. And if anyone watching has any ideas of ways that you would like to be involved with a communicator in the virtual blog series, feel free to reach out to the Communications Committee. We would love to hear from you. With that, we'll conclude this interview. Mona, thank you so much.
Thank you.